What if everything that feels like collapse is actually the beginning of clarity? In this episode, we're talking about what it means to truly awaken personally, collectively, and even spiritually in a world that feels like it's burning and blooming all at once. So I want everybody just to take a breath, set your perspective aside, and listen with your whole self. This conversation may be triggering. It's going to challenge a few. It's going to challenge some things that you believe, but it may also affirm ways that you've always been feeling. So buckle up, and here we go. Welcome to Rooted and Rising. I'm your host, Tara Michelle, intuitive guide, storyteller, and fellow traveler on this wild path of becoming. This is a space for the soul-led, for the ones unraveling old stories, tending to their healing, and rising, not perfectly, but powerfully, into who they are here to be. Here we explore what it means to live with intention, to love with depth, and to trust that even the hard things are shaping us. I'll share pieces of my own journey, the cracks, the beauty, the breakthroughs, and invite voices who are walking this path too. Because I believe life isn't happening to us, it's happening for us. So come as you are, root in and rise up. And thank you, truly thank you for being here. Welcome back to Rooted and Rising, everybody. I'm super excited to have a very special guest, my dear friend Matt Kennedy, who I'm very excited. We actually met on the internet, and the thing I love about the internet is just that you find your people. You are pulled and drawn together, whether it's chat rooms or Instagram or YouTube or apps, whatever it is. We are seemingly, being brought together. And Matt is somebody very special. So I'm excited to share him with all of you today. He's also the host of Ultra MK podcast, which you can find on all of the podcast platforms. But the very cool thing that I love really about what he's up to is he also is a light warrior. He is working his voice, working his truth in the world. And he's actually the public relations director for a nonprofit called Peace of Heaven. This is one of the largest aftercare facilities for children that have been rescued from human trafficking, trafficking, and child trafficking. So I'm excited to have him on the podcast today. We're actually going to talk about a very fun and interesting topic, which is called the Age of Awakening. The Age of Awakening and what's really changing. And we're going to look and dive into our perspectives around it all and just what we see with it all. So here we go. So, Matt Kennedy, welcome to Rooted and Rising. I'm so excited to have you here. And I wanted to say thank you. You had me on your podcast recently. And I think one of the things, because we're going to talk about the age of awakening and what really is changing. And I love that we're going to dive into this topic. But one of the things, and I'll ask this question later because I have a list of questions, but I love that we met online. We met through social media. We met, I think so many people see media can be a really bad thing, but there's something really special about it pulling so many of us together. And I see you as one of these fantastic light warriors on the front line doing incredible things, speaking your truth. And you have an awesome podcast, the Ultra MK podcast, where what did you say? You call it, you're
Reversing the narrative.
reversing the narrative. Yes. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself with the guests, or I should say the people, the listeners, Share a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So I currently reside in, I'd say, probably central Northern California, up in the foothills in the mountains near Yosemite National Park. That's really pretty where I live. And I live in a sleepy,
Gorgeous.
quiet little historic gold mining town area, which I love very much. And I'm a native to California. I've lived here my entire life. I've traveled, around the country, around the world. There's many places I would love to live, but California is still home because I have so much family here, and I just feel that California is savable. I feel that California can be redeemed, and we can talk more
Mm,
about that in this
yeah,
episode. But I find it's a very beautiful state. There's a lot of beautiful people. Not everybody is out there weird and wacky and wild like media and the Hollywood narratives like to
has
portray.
implied.
Yeah, and prior to 2000, I'll be honest with you, prior to 2016, no one really cared about what your politics really was. There was something in the cog or in the machine or in the matrix that was activated. And
Yes.
but I love my state. I love it so much that I was asked to help a woman run for United States Senate in California during a midterm race in 2024 uh, um, for a primary election, and that was a great experience. It got me out and about into the rest of the parts of California, the 58 counties that we have, and I was able to network with so many amazing people, amazing patriots, I should say, who have awakened and who really want to take back our state for we the people and not the big machine that's been running
The
the
institution.
supermajority, yeah, the institutions, and really what it is, it's something much larger than just a political arm of our country. It's also they've embedded themselves with a corporatocracy, so being able to leverage corporations as well as the tech sector of the world. So Silicon Valley and all of the big tech behemoths that basically, in the digital sense, control every aspect of our life. And there still isn't a digital bill of rights yet. So um, that is actually kind of what led me to my awakening prior and during COVID when I saw
Yeah, and
Mhm.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, just with all the tyranny that I was able to see, just being, just a normal, California resident, when I saw what was happening online with censorship, and then what I saw happening physically in the physical sense of, people being arrested when they want to just go to the beach or go
Yeah,
surfing, or
right.
kids that wanted to go skateboard in the skate park and they were filling skate parks up with sand. So,
Sand. Oh my God.
closing down stuff. So to me, that was like, I knew that big tech corporations, the majority rule, Democrat Party rule in California was they're all colluding together. And in that moment of my adult life, I said, I'm tired of just bitching about it. I actually want to do something in some aspect or another. And that's kind of what
Take
led me,
action.
yeah, it led me to take action.
And
And
and I want you
that's
to
where I
hold
started.
that thought. Yeah, I want you to hold that thought because I want to go into, the experience of your awakening. But what I'd like to ask first, well, first I want to say it's very interesting because as you're talking about this, so, for those listening, I reside in Texas, but I'm a native Californian. And the wild thing about me residing in Texas is that I moved here actually in 2016. I had no idea there was going to be this big Texas California bridge and rise of something. I came here because I was a single parent in California trying to raise my kid, couldn't afford to stay there. And the lab that I was working for happened to build another lab here, and that's what brought me here. And because the cost of living was amazing, I was like, oh my God. And we came here sight unseen. I was like, we're moving, executive decision, we got to go. And then little did I know that there was this whole migration occurring. But that's because there was a bigger thing going on that we still, I don't want to say we weren't awake to, but we weren't quite privy to what was really going on. And it's interesting because, as you say, you're a native Californian, you think it's redeemable, you think it can be saved. And there's a part of me where I miss my old California. And I think that there's times when I think it's never going to be saved, you know? And so to even be sitting here having this conversation with you, to even remember like how we met online is just random, but there's still this divine connection of what you and I are bridging and what we're talking about. And so I find it fascinating, but I do want to ask you when people say we're in an awakening, what does that really mean to you? Like, what do you hear when you hear we're in an awakening?
Well, I definitely feel that for me, and when I've had conversations about this topic with other people,
Hmm.
it's something that's so deeply embedded in my human mind and body and even my soul, because I feel it's like a spiritual awakening. Because I like I like I believe in God first and foremost. I'm a Christian, and I believe that God is in us and He has created us in His image, and so He's in our DNA, and that's something that also too we'll soon learn, you know, in other conversations that's something that they're trying to dehumanize, and they want to
Yes.
remove God out of every aspect of who what our human physical meat suit body is, to
Yes.
everything that's in the world around us, is they want to remove God from that. And so for
100%.
me, whenever they double down and triple down on some type of agenda,
Mm-hmm.
and there are actually manifestos written by certain unelected globalists that run at high levels of organizations, like World Economic Forum, for example. So
Yep.
Klaus Schwab had
Yep.
written this manifesto, this I guess operating manual called Agenda 2030. So for
Yep.
your listeners who've never heard of Agenda 2030, definitely go do some research on that, to give you
And you
better
know what?
context.
Yeah, and when we say go do some research, what would you say the best place for them to look is? Because I feel like so much has been wiped from the internet, especially when
Hmm.
looking for some of that stuff. I feel like back in 2016, like we could find it all. Today, it's really difficult to find. So when you say go do your research, where would be good for them?
Yeah, so a good search engine that I really like to use is a search engine called search.brave. And it's a search
Search.brave.
engine that, it's very similar to what, DuckDuckGo used to be
Yep.
before it was sold, I think, to some like Ukrainian oligarchs or Russian oligarchs. I can't remember who had bought it, but I know that at one point in time, DuckDuckGo was like the search engine hub that was sort of like a VPN, where it kind of didn't attach cookies to you're searching, and then so there wasn't any third parties like watching what you were looking at. And
Right.
so for me, search.brave is a good place. Also, now this could be a realm that can also lead you into some rabbit holes of things that maybe will distract you from the bigger awakening. But there's another one that I like to use. It's called beforeitsnews.com. Before it's
Before
news
it's news.com. Okay.
Yeah, before it's news.com. I mean, anytime you find a source like that, and then you have other left-wing sources like Politico or Wikipedia or these other ones that say it's right-wing hate speech filled, but all the wordplay that they like to use to make people not want to look at something, because you'll be placed into a category of being, a hate monger or whatever. It to me seems like it's just because they don't want you to go looking into that realm of
Yeah,
information.
they don't want you to find stuff.
Right.
They don't want you to wake up.
They don't want you to wake up. Also, I really love Rumble. Rumble
Rumble
to
is
me
great.
is Rumble is still a somewhat of a free speech platform,
Yes.
where podcasters and broadcasters can go to actually put really interesting content on there. It's a wide spectrum of information. I mean, there's gamers
Yeah.
on there. I mean, it's everything. But
Yeah, and you
y
can end up down rabbit holes there too, but it's still a great resource of
yeah,
information. Like if you want to find what you can't find on YouTube or what you can't find on Google, it's going to be there.
exactly. It's like what YouTube used to be like over 10 years
Yes.
ago,
Yes.
before like Meta and everything kind of just
Yes.
before they
Right.
colluded in order to censor information, because
Right.
they want to install their own bots and their own gatekeepers or fact checkers, that are, to me, just like, propaganda, um, barriers in order to, there's one thing to push out propaganda that's false information, but there's another thing to be a gatekeeper of truth. And I
True.
think that these big tech oligarchs have convened and colluded with a globalist agenda. And when you go back to, like, Agenda 2030, or
Hmm.
even the planning of C-19, COVID-19, the
Hmm.
pandemic, as I call it, they
Hmm.
even had Event 201, which happened, I believe, in like 2015, which is like a exercise that all of the globalists and the medical establishment colluded to work together in order to roll out well, they were making it an exercise as like a plan, like a pre-planning of if there were to be a global wide pandemic, and but they were able to kind of install all of their apparatus in order to censor information from people so they didn't know where they could, find certain things that might be able to help them. So,
Right.
um, so yeah, I mean, I know that's kind of a mouthful. It's a kind of a tangent
Yes.
there,
Yeah. But
but,
that's
but,
okay.
but it's those mechanisms that for me, I was already feeling like we were going on the wrong trajectory. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Probably back in, well, I'd say way back to 9/11. I wasn't awakened
Right.
fully at 9/11, but I knew that, later in my adult life when I started understanding like what could have happened with 9/11, and then
Yes.
the Patriot Act that was passed, dual parties passed the Patriot Act, which really was the introduction of mass surveillance in our country
Yeah.
upon people, and then that how that could then be weaponized. So it was me kind of getting older, getting more mature,
Wiser.
like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like looking around, like this world is much bigger than me and my microcosm of my personal
Yes.
life.
Yes.
And so, and then I think seeking God, especially like when you get really off track in life, and
Mm-hmm.
there really isn't any advice that you can take or a book that you can read that's
Mm-hmm.
really going to help you put things back together. For me, it's like I have to go to the source and
Mm-hmm.
then say, and then for me, I just give it all to him and then
Yes.
asked to be reset and replenished. And then I see improvements subtly happen in my life. And I think that for me was happening around the year 2016, which happened
Mm.
to be, when there was going to be a major election in our country. And
Yes.
so
Yep. Yep.
that timeline for me is really what set me on a whole new path for the way I thought about the world, the way I thought about my state, the way I felt about my community, and even just
Yeah.
about myself and my family and my relationships. And
Right.
that's really, I would say, when I truly began awakening was in 2016. And
Mm-hmm.
then everything was confirmed when, as soon as March 15th of 2020 happened, and
Mm-hmm.
the fake news came out and
Mm-hmm.
was beginning their propaganda programming of fear tactics to the entire world. And I was like, oh, so this is how they're going to do it. This
Right.
is how they're going to do it. So,
Right. I want to roll back just a moment when you talked about, things shifting for you in 2011, what popped up, and I invite all the listeners to really look back wherever you sit in this quote unquote awakening, or yeah, wherever you sit in the camp. Um, I invite you to go back and start looking for moments when you were being pinged to look at things differently. And my experience with 2011, I was there. I was 20 blocks away. I was at a sales meeting. My colleague watched the first plane hit the tower. I came downstairs. We went to the office, and then next thing you know, the second tower's hit, and the world is collapsing. And I was very spiritual then, and spiritual inside of my intuition and my intuitiveness. And when I got back from that event, which was insane, that was an insane week of my life, I kept asking God, who I then at that time called the universe, why was I there? Like, I never go to New York. I don't live in New York. Like, what the hell was I supposed to see all that for? And I remember having this, and at the time, not to pick sides, but I was still pretty liberal. But what I see liberal is I was socially liberal and fiscally conservative, which I still am today. But that's not considered liberal anymore. I don't know what the hell is, but I
well,
still.
actually, I've learned that the actual original word of liberal
Hmm.
meant that you were free thinking, that
Yes,
you had critical thought and free thinking,
yes,
that
yeah,
you weren't controlled by another
anything.
entity. Yes.
No, yeah,
So
and that's what's wild is it's become this
yeah,
completely other thing.
it's
But
morphed.
it's totally morphed. And I remember sitting in my house at the time, and I had this. It was a I don't know if it was a premonition, but it was a visual. And Bush was sitting in the White House. And at the time, I despised the guy. I was like, oh, Bush, rah. I was totally not conservative, so they say.
Mhm.
And I saw him sitting in the White House, and I all of a sudden could feel his energy. And this was probably when I was still like, I still didn't understand at the level at which I could tune into people's energy, right? This was like kind of new for me. And I was like, ooh, this is interesting. And I could feel his energy. And all of a sudden I just felt the remorse, the sadness, the empathy in him. And that was my awakening. I was like, this dude feels like shit. I don't care what anybody says, whether we did it or not. The humanity of this man sitting in this office right now, and all of that weight is on him, and it's heavy for him. That was my first drip of a big awakening. Now, mind you, I'd already seen the movie The Matrix, like all that stuff had come out, and what the bleep did we know? So my brain was already starting to explode into this quantum space of like, oh my God, what the hell's happening? And but when you take it back to those moments, you can start seeing where whatever your higher power is, God, universe, whatever you call it, there's like this drip system, drip, like opening you up and shifting your perspective. So much so that now here we are, 2016, like you said, and that big shift occurs and people start really waking up. But even now, here we are almost 10 years later, right?
Yeah.
That 2016, that wasn't the big, real big people waking up. That was just like another drip. I feel like right now we are in a fucking big, like, holy shit. People
Mhm.
are now really like, whoa, 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 what's happening here? And that's why I invite people look back over time, and you'll start to see when those light bulbs or those blinders or the veil was beginning to thin for you, right? And those shifts of awakening were happening. So I don't know. I find it fascinating, but that's what I see is that it was this gradual thing over time, and now we're just like deep in it, where the locomotive is moving and it's moving quickly. That's what it feels like.
Right.
It's just
Right.
like we are flying down the rails now,
Right.
flying. So
Absolutely.
and to go back, because you talked about that, when you talk about that personal moment of what it felt like, when you tune into your body, like what really did that feel like for you? Because you're a father, you're a man, you're living in this society, in this world. Like what shifted for you in that moment? Like really what shifted? What had you think, I have to do something really different?
I felt like it was the ultimate call of duty. Like I felt like I didn't serve in our military, but it was the most important it was the most important feeling that I had as a human being living on this earth for the fragment of time that we're going to live here,
Mm-hmm.
where you're called, like I felt like I was called in order to play a part and to do my part of what capabilities that I have, what gifts I've been given to actually get involved in at some level or another to help the voiceless, to help people who aren't awake. It's like the saying,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'll fight for those who can't fight for themselves because they don't realize that they need to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes for
Mm-hmm.
all people, and especially once your listeners learn about how the elite of the world have been exploiting and trafficking in human souls, and especially children.
Yes, children. Yes,
When you find out that they have been trafficking children sexually and for organ harvesting
for centuries.
and for centuries, and it's actually peaked to this
Mm-hmm.
point in time where it's actually the worst it has ever been. And I'm sorry to shock your listeners with this
I think some of them know. Yeah, some of them.
abrupt topic, but for those who don't know, please just continue to pray about God revealing more to you,
Yes.
because there's a lot of information that's going to be coming out, and yes, it's tied to Epstein, but he was just one pawn in the cog,
And one
um,
distraction.
and one distraction,
Hmm.
and that's the thing is you'll also learn that we are living through mass psychological operations
100%.
by three-letter agencies across the world,
Yep.
especially our own. I love America and I love Americans, but when you find out that there's elements and, a deep state of our country that is and has been working against we the people because of whatever political interest, financial interest, blackmail, bribery, shenanigans that they've been involved in, and they're
Yes.
weaponizing information in order to keep us from learning the truth or dividing us based on skin color, our socioeconomic status, our
Yep.
political affiliation, our religion. They know how to do these kinds of things to overthrow,
Manipulate it.
yeah, to overthrow certain countries, and now they're using it against their own American people. So, with that being
And
said, it's like,
yeah, go ahead. No, I was going to interject, but go ahead.
no, please do.
I just, I want listeners to really, because I know for some people listening, this is going to be a triggering conversation. And I want people to hear this isn't about right, left. This isn't about white, black, brown, whatever. This isn't about gender, sex, whatever. It really is light and dark. There is light and there is dark. And it sits on every aspect of this planet. And it sits inside of every organization, whether the good organization or not. It is, I really see it. It's about discerning the light from the dark. And then you have
Yeah,
to stand.
right.
And so I just want to remind people that we're not talking about this, not right, left, and conservative, liberal. I mean, yes, we're talking about certain things because we're talking about our own personal awakenings and where we've come to. But I really invite everybody to listen from a much higher, broader perspective. When you are looking down, it's just light and dark, period. And
Yeah,
and the beauty
yes.
of what you bring is that this is an information war. This is technically World War IV. It's an information war, and it is designed to destroy and to obliterate the mental mind of human beings to where we are in such deep chaos that we have no state of reference and that we have no state of grasping. And
Yeah.
it's not easy inside of this awakening, which I'm going to bring up something else, but what were you going to say? Because you were going to say something.
No, I believe you nailed it. I think if you can take your audience and folks, if you're listening to this, you've heard people say like a 30,000 foot view. Well, that's how far we go in our airplanes to travel,
Yes.
from California to Texas, right? No, what I'm asking folks to do is literally close your eyes when you're listening to this podcast. Imagine yourself in a spacesuit, literally flying or literally floating in space, looking at the earth. No matter what shape you think it is, because I always tell
Unravel.
people, doesn't matter what shape it is. Let's fix it first, and then we'll decide what shape it is. But just picture yourself floating in space, looking at the planet that you were born into, and that you see greatness and goodness in, and then you also see that there's darkness in it too. And that's really where we're at. That's a great
It's
way
a
to.
virus.
It
Yeah, it's
is.
a
It is.
virus. It's a virus. Imagine you're in that spacesuit, you're millions of miles up, and you're looking down at this beautiful, glorious petri dish that was filled with all of the greatest goodness that God could possibly create. And then it got infected.
Mhm.
It got
And
infected.
And that's the thing is it goes back thousands of years of infection.
Millennia. Yes,
Yeah,
it goes back so much further than we can even fathom.
right. And
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 yes.
and that's the thing is, and the history that we have been taught in government sponsored schools hasn't given us the real picture of what has happened because
No.
when anytime there's a conquering of another people or nation, they will automatically inherit the history that conquering that conquering group wants to give them. And
Yeah.
so, and this isn't like you were saying, this is not about politics, especially
No.
current politics. This
No.
isn't about anything else other than it is a spiritual war. You framed it just right. It's spiritual warfare that we are involved in. And it's it really is challenging people to exercise faith during these times more than ever, because just because you don't see something with your human eyeball doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Right.
You
Thank
know,
you
if
on
you
that one because that's huge. That's huge. So I do want to talk about systems because you brought up education. We're talking about systems, and I think, systems is just one aspect of the infrastructure inside of the conversation we're talking about. But I'm curious, which systems do you feel are crumbling the fastest?
well, I would say um the financial system right now,
Hmm.
the money
Hmm.
system, that's actually a really good topic, because one way you could really wake up people really quick is by
Hmm.
making them go broke through
Oh, yeah.
ma through massive inflation, where they're
Yes.
like, wait a minute, in order for
Yes.
me to, you're saying for me to keep this lifestyle, now I have to work two jobs, or
Yes. Or more.
or more,
Hmm.
or
And we all have to live together because we can't afford a single house alone. Yes.
yes.
Hmm.
So that's one facet of the awakening, is just when people start questioning where money is spent and how it's going. And actually, let's boil this down real quick,
Yep.
Tara.
Yep.
To money in general. Like, what is money?
Hmm.
What is money? Money is called currency.
Currency. It's
Current
energy.
energy, right?
Hmm.
So money flows where energy goes,
Goes.
energy
Yes.
flows, right?
Yes.
So even just taking a US dollar bill, okay,
Hmm.
and turning it onto the back side of the dollar bill.
Hmm.
Has anybody ever questioned why there's a pyramid on the
No.
back of a dollar bill with a little all-seeing eyeball on the top of that pyramid? Does anybody ever question that? I always,
No.
as a kid, I remember as a kid standing in my cul-de-sac in my little neighborhood and waiting. I hear the ice cream man ding-a-ling-ing down the
Mhm.
road, and me and my friends, we get off the water
Running.
slide and we
Yes.
start running. We start running in our swim trunks to get to that
Yep.
corner, and fortunately, we had a dollar that, maybe we had earned in our allowance. And I remember standing there as a kid and looking at the dollar bill because I'm waiting for the ice cream man to make the corner. And I would look at them like, why is there an eyeball? Like,
Did
why
you
is
ever
this?
think it was creepy? Because I always thought it was creepy.
I always knew it was creepy. Yeah. And then it wasn't until my awakening kicked in to where, I started to learn about who really runs the world,
Yes.
who really control. Because if you can control the money system, you can control people.
Everything. Yeah.
You can, because it's energy, right? Like,
Yes.
whoever controls the world's energy controls the world, like controls people. And so
Hmm.
if you look at like how the money system, the history of, so I encourage your folks to learn about Jekyll Island.
Hmm.
And it was a place in the early 1900s where the large family bankers of the world, the 13 family bankers, which are European bank, I call them the bankster gangsters.
Yes.
This is a this is a place where they had convened on an island in order to plot and scheme how they wanted to control the United States financially, and through a fiat currency, which, for those who don't know, that the Federal Reserve really isn't federal. It isn't a official entity of the U.S. government. In fact, they're their
No,
own
it's a bully.
private. Yeah, it's a
It's a bully.
private entity that is controlled by foreign banking families, um, and through the Crown of England. So that's a whole rabbit hole that I encourage your listeners to go learn about. What is
That's
money?
like a whole topic. We could
It's
have
a
a
whole
whole episode
topic.
because I have this argument with my son from time to time because I try to explain to him like United States is not a country, we're a corporation. No, we're not, Mom. I'm like, yes, we are, and we're owned, and our Social Security is all owned by somebody else, and it's just like one
Yeah,
big slave trade over here. And yet
totally.
we live like, oh no, we're the freest, richest country in the world. We are not, and we are
No.
owned by like people would be shocked to shit if they knew.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
really, the grasp
that's
of it.
that's really, so we're about to come up to our 250th birthday next year as a
It's
nation,
amazing. That's
right?
amazing. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people, very smart people, who have said that if a country can make it past 250 years, you're doing pretty good, because um, a lot of times, a lot of cultures and nations crumbled in their first 200 years. Um, but it's also it's like a blessing and a curse. So
Yes.
I would say to look at it from an optimistic point of view, because it's only been 250 years since 1776, we can actually, if you do the right searching and you use discernment, you can actually find out what happened, and you can connect a lot of dots. And that's what's so cool about the internet now, and
Mhm.
forums like Rumble, and places where there is still free speech and people can communicate with one another with research. And the anons, as I call them, the anonymous people out there that are digging deep into information and
Mhm.
deciphering what's been going on. Well, people have been doing that with what history our country has gone through. And especially, so I think it was in 1812, it was the Act of 1812, I believe. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that was the War of 1812. There was something that happened just after the Civil War, because our country was broke from that war. And what people will also learn too is that most wars are being funded on both sides by the bankster gangsters, as I was talking about
Yes.
to you earlier, that they fund both sides of every war so they can control certain outcomes, and then they end up, uh, getting whatever it is that they wanted to get, and
Because
out of that
the debt
situation.
system is fueled by that. The debt system is fueled by war. You
Right,
can't live inside of a Federal Reserve debt system without war. So they have to create these wars
right,
in order to keep the money going, which that's a whole, like again, it's a whole rabbit hole.
yeah,
And maybe we should do that because that would be fun. And I think it's highly educational to start really educating people on this
yeah,
because, when we talk about an awakening, I think we can get very distracted with all the noise that's happening right now. Like we could talk about Charlie Kirk, we could talk about Epstein, we could talk about LGBTQ, blah, 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 blah. We could talk about race, we could talk about gender. No,
hmm,
no, no. You actually have to go all the way back. And now, yeah, let's talk about the money system.
hmm,
Let's talk about the banking system. Let's talk about the education system. Let's just say Rothschild. Like you have to go way, 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 way back. And you even have to go back to Egyptian times. There's so many things, but we
yeah,
get very caught up in the what's happening right now, which is all distraction energy. Every single bits of it. I mean, it's funny because the O.J. Simpson trial just popped in my mind. Like total distraction. Like if people go back to all these big distractions, what were those two brothers that were on trial? Why can't I remember?
yeah, the twin
Yes.
brothers,
Yeah. Like if you go back to all of these events that occurred way back like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago.
or Lacey Peterson. Remember that one?
Yes, you go back then, there's actually some big historical thing occurring that the presidents or the governments are actually doing or signing or passing while we're all focused on, oh my God, did O.J. Simpson kill her? And they're
Yeah,
back there signing a little thing, slipping it under the rug. Maybe they do
right.
one little episode, like we'll put it on some local news in North fucking Dakota, and then nobody else will hear about it. Like that's been going on for centuries as well. And so I feel we get really caught into this stuff. And I invite people to start unplugging. Like you don't need to be. And actually, I want to bring up because I want to go into consciousness and technology because I think there's so much good. And sorry to kind of divert, but there's so much good in what we're talking about the fact that we're all connected through the internet. But there's also a lot that's not good about the internet. And I think I just got distracted from my thought. Um,
No, it's okay. That it's the way that information flows is how they are able to control people. And then
yes.
there's a consciousness. Actually, a friend of mine told me it's loosh.
Hmm.
Loosh is the consciousness energy source that these evil entities, these evil people harvest that, because
Yes.
they are of an ancient belief system that dates back to Babylon, where they worship deities like Moloch, and
Yeah.
these are satanic deities where they used to
Yes.
bring children to the altar to sacrifice, and because that's their occult practice, that is their worship, that is their religion. It is
Yeah.
it has it has manifested into our complete society around us. And that's why you see celebrities and athletes glorifying the Illuminati, because
Yes,
that is
yes,
that is
yes.
a faction of a secret society. There's many secret societies, but the one that's really popular right now that the
Exactly.
celebrities love to boast and brag about because they feel that they get power and control is the Illuminati. They do the hand signals to each other.
Yes,
The folk,
yes.
this is an audio show, but if you were to visually see what I'm doing, I'm putting my pointer fingers to my thumb to form a triangle. That's
Mhm.
one symbol they love to use. LeBron James does it. LeBron James does it all the
All
time.
the time.
Katy Perry, she likes to do the little I'm touching my pointer finger to my thumb, and my other, it's like the OK
It's
symbol.
the okay symbol over
It's
the
the
I.
OK
Yeah,
over the I. They What they
gotcha.
do is they signal to each other, because in their dark black magic occult witchcraft practices, they they feed off of energy when people participate and give their attention. Because I honestly feel, next to money and electricity,
Hmm.
attention is probably the second or third most important, if not the most important currency of the planet, is where our focused attention
Because
goes.
that's the energy. Yeah,
That's the
that's
energy
energy
source.
that gets
Right,
created, that then triggers the consciousness, that
right,
then goes into the collective. The
right,
collective says okay, and that's how they get our
right,
free will, and then
right.
we've given them consent all
It's
the
like
time.
it's like going back to the Charlie Kirk assassination. I mean, the whole world was traumatized, especially with cameras being able to see him die
Oh,
in the moment. That
yes.
created so much mental, psychological trauma. That is a lot. It reminded me a lot of what it did during 9/11.
9/11.
So,
Yes.
so when they orchestrate these, and when I say they, folks, these are
We just the dark people.
the dark people.
Yeah.
I want to say, it's this. I could say it's the satanic death cult,
Yes,
because
it's
they've
Luciferian.
they
Yes.
yeah, it's a Luciferian in nature, but they have apparatus that conduct these false flag operations to then uh do these events, and they do it on using numbers. So they're all about numerology. They're all about astronomy. They'll do certain things during certain moons, because
Yes.
they feel that it brings them
More.
power and energy when they do that, because they believe in a karma type system.
I'm going to jump in again. This is so good. And I love that we're talking about all this. I want people to come back again because the whole phrase Charlie Kirk is so triggering. And what I invite people to hear or do in this moment, I am not going to take away anybody. We are not here to take away whatever experience you had with that. But I also want people to hear because when I saw it, I heard it through the grapevine that it happened, and I went ahead and logged online and I was like, okay, what happened? And when I saw it, I cried. But in that moment of crying, I knew this is truth for me, y'all. I'm not here to change your truth. But what I saw was that's a hologram. Okay, now the hologram's coming out, right? They are they're out to do a massive, massive distraction and to get everybody at 100,000% at odds. And I began to cry. Now I cried because, and I could almost do it right now, it's like the chills. I cried because not only did the people of the world just see somebody be totally shot, you know, in a brutal way, like let's just go back to JFK again. But I also knew that, if it is real, a man just got shot in public, has children, has a wife, has a family. Okay. If it's not real, a man got shot in public, has children, has a wife, has a family. It doesn't matter if it's fucking real or not. It was designed to break down people, period. And what have we watched over the last 2, 3 weeks? America's literally ripping each other at the seams. Friends and family members ripping each other's at the seams, pointing blame, pointing fingers, left, right, left, right, left, right. He said this. No, he said this. No, he said this. And And I invite everybody just to stop doing that and just get into the space of humanity, that we just watched something really horrific. And the only place to stand inside of that is love. Like if we could just channel love at the deepest source and core in that moment, we would have totally shattered that psyop. And I'm going to say it's a psyop, whether it's real or not. It's a fucking psyop. And we could have shattered it in that moment. But there's still so many people caught up in, I'm going to fight about this. I'm going to fight about this. I'm going to keep fighting about this. And that's the hypnotic states, or the hypnotism that they have literally over millennia designed and created for us to fall into. And that's, again, when I talk about the age of awakening and what's really changing, that's what's really changing, is that if you have the strength and the core within you to actually step away from that and say, oh, no, I'm not getting sucked into that game, that's where your true power begins, is when you start seeing it as the matrix that it is. And then all you have to do is look around. Anybody who just watched that moment in time, it was within seconds that the world fell apart. And that to me is a sign. That's a sign of like, wait a minute. Did it really have to be that? Do we have to fall apart? Do we now have to rip each other at the seams? We don't, but we do, and we still are. I see people doing it every day. But anyways, that's my tangent.
No, I agree with you. Whether it was real or not real, it traumatized people. It created division. I
Traumatized
will
us,
say,
yes.
yeah, I will say that it also, there was a study recently done that uh, Christian churches around the country saw an uptick of 25% more people going to learn about God and learn about Jesus because of information that Charlie would talk about and sharing the gospel and explaining his perspective and truth that he would find his faith to be rooted to his truth is rooted to his faith and through the word of God and the Holy Bible. So there was a big uptick of people wanting to get closer with God, which I thought was a very beautiful thing.
Yes.
You don't just have to go to church on Easter, folks. You don't just have to
No.
go to a Christmas mass. I mean, literally, God calls his flock home every single day.
And God
And
is
so,
within. It's in every cell of your body. God is
yeah,
within every cell of our body. And
right.
yeah, it is. And again, to your point, that's the other beauty of this whole thing happening, right? Is it
Hmm.
tipped and shifted people to open up a new perspective and step in a little deeper
Yeah,
to something that might be uncomfortable. But
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I mean the internet it's cool and crazy because it's actually Candace Owens she has openly stated that she's going to put everything in her willpower to get to the bottom of what happened with Charlie Kirk because she loved him very much. They were together at the very beginning of Turning Point USA, and she loved Charlie Kirk very much, and she's been doing great work on her podcast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of haters that speculate Candace is bought and paid for. It's so hard to know, you know, when information comes out, like it hasn't been vetted, is it good sourced information? But it just seems like we're able to see as every day comes and goes, something else gets spotted, something else gets found.
Hmm.
The whole mainstream narrative that the news was trying to tell us and show us about that particular case, it's all falling apart because now everybody has questions
Oh
and
yeah.
things don't
It's at
line
an
up.
all-time low, all-time low, all-time low.
It
And that,
is. And
we talk about the fastest crumbling, we can talk about government, we could talk about education, but media in general, like media as
media
a,
is
it's
dying.
dead.
The
Hmm.
mainstream media, the mainstream. Once again, folks, follow the money. Who owns and controls all of the major networks of this country? It's BlackRock, and they're the largest hedge fund companies. They own all the major corporations. Yeah, in the world, Pepsi, you name it, they own
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm.
Black Rock, State Street, and Vanguard are the top
Hmm.
three. And so that whole media source is now crumbling. That's why people are going towards alternative sources. So they're looking for
I just,
truth.
I want to say this too. Each and every one of you are paid by one of those three companies, just so you know. So we're all owned by them. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter. Like the money all comes from them. Like, and that's the wild thing, because we can get into this thought of like, no, 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 I'm this, I'm that. No, we're all owned by
Mhm.
those three companies.
Yeah,
Everything.
think about just one company. Pick one. Let's say Target, or let's say McDonald's. Let's say there's one of them. They spend millions, if not billions, of dollars to market to a certain demographic to get people to consume whatever it is that they have that they want to,
Whatever.
whatever that they want people to consume.
Hmm.
So they have mastered the art of information manipulation.
Yes.
And when you start looking in the timeline of who is connected to this information, you'll be you'll be astonished by their backgrounds of working within CIA, working within government, actually through Operation Paperclip, something else people should check
Yep.
out.
It's a good one. Yes.
Once World War II happened, a lot of people from the Third Reich, from Nazi Germany, actually were brought over to the United States to work within our Pentagon, to work within our CIA. And a lot of these people, they've had children, grandchildren. They harvest more people to work in their system in order to keep that system going. But thank God that we have like this new technology of platforms, social media, alternative media in order to break down their system, their control apparatus, which has been
Yes.
manipulated media. And
Yes.
so thankfully we have this.
I will say a really good show that depicts a lot of that Operation Paperclip is The Assassins on Prime. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's a super fantastic show. It's a spy show and it's a thriller kind of um, it's really good. And I think is it Dustin Hoffman who's in it? No,
Mm.
no, no, not Dustin. Is it Dustin Hoffman? I can't remember, but it's really good. And it's all about that. It goes all into it because again, people, predictive programming, they tell us everything that they're doing all the
There's
time.
a reason, Tara, that they call it tell live vision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, television,
Tell
exactly.
live vision
And why
programming.
it's programming, yes, and it's his story, history. I mean, that's all, we should do an episode on the whole wordplay and what is it called? Spells. And why it's called
Yes.
spelling. It's called spelling because we're casting spells all day
Hmm.
long with our words. Yeah, no. So, okay, I want to shift gears as we keep moving here because I'm looking at time and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But why would you say awakening feels like chaos before clarity?
It's very uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. There are days where I look in the mirror and I sometimes wish, why can't I just go back to why can't I just go back to sleep?
Can I just go
Because
back to 1992?
why can't I just go back to 19? I mean, yeah, I think, and I'm not sure if you follow me on my social media, but I'm always posting retro stuff because
Yes, yeah, I do.
I find the nostalgia of the
Yes,
80s and 90s for
yes,
me because
feels so good.
that's where I grew up, like when I remember life before cell phones, before technology, it
Yeah,
brings me so much peace because life was so much slower back then.
yes,
And I'm not going to lie, the awakening isn't, I mean, it is for everybody,
yes.
but you have to be ready when this does happen with you because you're going to find out truth and it's going to hurt and it's going to feel uncomfortable. But just know that, like, God is in us. He is in control and he will help you through it all. And not everybody is going to wake up at the same time. It's
Mm-mm.
like people, right? Like some people can organically just wake up at 4 in the morning. I'm like, how do you do that? I, I,
Hmm.
I, I wake up without an alarm clock every day at about 6:30, right? Some
Hmm.
people, they
Hmm.
don't wake up until 10 a.m. But it's
Hmm.
like as the as progression happens, as time happens, more and more people are going to wake up. And that's what the globalists, that's what the evil ones are most worried about. And that's why I think
Hmm.
we're seeing these assassinations or assassination attempts on people, because I think that when people are speaking truth, it compromises their system and they do not want
Absolutely.
people to speak truth. So they do
No.
become targets. And
Doctor, it's Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith comes out and he's gonna blow shit up from the Matrix. Mr.
mhm,
Smith is like, "Oh no, we're not having this. We're gonna
right,
we're gonna we're gonna take it out." But what keeps
right.
coming to my mind is I want people to also recognize that if any of you remember the song The Age of Aquarius, which came out in the 60s, okay? The 60s. We just entered the age of Aquarius. not that long ago. Well, I think it was in 2016 or 2017 or 2018 was when we were entering
Hmm.
the age of Aquarius. So in the 60s, the consciousness level was already prepping us for this time. When we look at it from a spiritual perspective, I want people to really get that this isn't just happening all of a sudden. This just happened like COVID, and then all of a sudden this happened. No, this this actual situation that we're all in really started happening back in the 20s. In the 20s, when we started fucking around with things, and they're like, whoa, the universe is like, whoa, what's happening down over there in that little petri dish? They're starting to fuck with shit in ways that aren't they shouldn't be doing. Excuse my language. I keep using the F bombs today, but we think about the age of Aquarius. They were talking about it then. And why I bring this up because I often find this awakening that we're going through, like when in the 60s, when they were doing that big push of an awakening, it was very collective. It was very collective. It was the big peace movement and war and da 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 da. And now today, and media was a big pusher in that too. Like people still really believed everything that was told on the news, right? Everything. Today it's different. And I feel like this is like it's that same type of movement, but on steroids. And when I think about collective awakening versus individual awakening, and what's required, is it that it's like the chicken before the egg or the egg before the chicken? Like, which is it? Is it that we have to individually wake up in order to create the collective? And that's what's super uncomfortable? Or is it that we're moving inside of a collective? Are we breaking away from a collective? Because what I started seeing is in this particular awakening, it's almost like you have to individually wake up. You have to step away from that influential piece of the media. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's we're breaking away from the influence of media and starting to get reconnected to our individual selves collectively. And that's why you see this big rise in individuals actually putting out media today. And like that's what people prefer to follow is news from rando people on the streets that are trying to collect real news and not the Hollywood version, ABC, NBC, Fox News, whatever, CNN. What is it that's causing this awakening? And is it that we do it individually or are we doing it's just very interesting because I see it in a very chaotic, random way. And I guess my question is like, what is truth? What is real? How will we get to the end? What's on the other side? Can we truly get to some peace and love? I don't know. I just threw out a bunch of stuff, but my brain is moving at 1,000 miles per hour. And so I needed to share all that.
I would
So what
say
do you
that for me and my personal perspective is
think?
I'm just making it super simple. I'm just getting back to God. And my
Mm-hmm.
my God is Jesus. And he says,
Mm-hmm.
I am the truth, I am the way, and I am the life.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually talks about everything we're living through in the book of Revelations right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and especially Revelations 17 through 18, it talks about a society called Mystery Babylon. And that time of history talks about a bunch of kings and rulers of many nations who were trading in anything that was worth value back then. And then there was one particular character who they depicted as a prostitute, or she was referred as in some testaments the old or she was referred to as the whore of Babylon, and she trafficked in gold and silver and myrrh and spices and anything that you can make money on back then amongst all the kings of many nations. But it also talked about her trading in human souls, and um, she was very conceited and always, knew that she would stay in power because she had controlled all these kings. She,
Mm-hmm.
was able to blackmail them, and it talks about this in Revelations. And then in one single day, God says this whole system is going to collapse. And I honestly feel that we're starting to see that, because
Mm-hmm.
when you go down the rabbit hole and you learn about adrenochrome and child
Mm-hmm.
trafficking, harvesting
Oh yeah.
blood, when you learn about certain things that are, I mean, sorry for your listeners, but when you get to that level and you start to see what God's word already has in there, you just have to open it up and just be open-minded to look. And there's been many
Well, I want to ask you,
prophecies.
why would you apologize for the listeners?
Well, because I think that some of this information is going to be really heavy on folks. And I'm not going to lie, when
Well,
I
I'll be
first learned
ready. I'll
about
be ready for it.
seriously,
I just,
like I
yeah,
remember,
I only ask that because I know exactly where you're coming from, but I'm totally fine shaking up the narrative. Like people
yeah,
need to be
we have
awake.
to we
Yeah,
have to be awake and aware and open. And it's like I
yes.
know, look, when I talk about God, Tara, on your show, and I talk about Jesus, I'm not talking about religion, okay? And
No,
there's
no.
a huge difference between that because I
And
feel
I
that
wanted to get into that because I think a lot of people get stuck in that religion,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's not about that. It's not about that.
It's it's not about religion, it's about
Yeah,
relationship. And that's
the
the thing
relationship.
is, you know, if Jesus were to come back today and walk around to see what his teachings have done for to make people rich, to make like giant mega churches, and then he looks around at society and sees how broken it is. It's like, wait a minute. If you guys were actually doing what I taught you to do, we wouldn't have all these issues with problems of division and homelessness and drug
I'm going to
addiction.
interject right there. I'm going to interject because what I just got a little sense of is that he did come back, he came back to speak word. He came back
Hmm.
to speak love. He came back to you implement this in your world and it's going to create a world, right? But then the
Hmm.
virus came in, right? And the
That's right.
Mr. Smith came in and said, "Oh fuck that noise. That ain't happening."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mr. Smith comes in. No, 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 no,
From the
no.
Matrix
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, Matrix movie, y'all. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. He comes
It's a
in and
documentary.
yeah, it totally is. He's going to annihilate everything. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that Mr. Smith had his day. Mr. Smith's done a pretty good job over however many hundreds or thousands of years since Jesus was here, okay? And now we are saying no more. It's done.
Yeah. Yep.
And what I often will remind people that just imagine right now, and a lot of you can relate to this if you were a teenager with zits on your face, and just imagine like right now, the zit got popped, and right now we're in the part where it's exploding all over the mirror in front of you. Okay, it's just exploding, but when it explodes, it heals, and it heals quickly. Okay, we're in the middle of the explosion and we will heal quickly. But I think it's back to faith, your relationship to God, your relationship to your truth, your relationship to that light within you, and knowing that love prevails. And you know what? When we get caught up and we trip or we fall down because we got caught up in the insanity of Epstein or the insanity of Charlie Kirk or the insanity of Trump and Obama and whatever else you want to bitch about and fight about. When we get caught up in that, that's just like, oops, I just fell down for a second. I just fell down for a second. And maybe that second was 2 years, maybe it was 6 months, maybe it was 2 days. I believe the practice is how quickly can I get up from that moment of falling down? And how quickly can I get back into love? And how quickly can I stop judging my brother, my sister, my neighbor, my child, my parents, the government? When can I stop judging and get back into rooting deeply in love in this moment? And what would love do? If you don't want to say what would Jesus do, what would love do? Because people can relate to the word love. And if you can't relate to the word love, then you've got inner work to do within, and you need to look right in that mirror and figure out why you don't love who you are. Because that's where it starts. When you look in the mirror, do you see love? Do you love that person staring back at you? Because that's where it begins. And I'm telling myself this in this moment, like when we trip up and get caught up in that mental chaos, which is exactly what they want you to be in. And you just say, wait, what would love do today? Would love post something nasty about the right in my opinion. Maybe, because maybe that is the experience that you're still learning from in love. Maybe. Okay. But what if you just stopped yourself and said, what would love do? Would love post any hate? Would love make any judgment? And what could I do if I really wanted to root in love? Maybe I just don't do anything. And then you got to deal with whatever that brings up because you just have so much to say and you want to say it. Well, then maybe, yeah, go be angry, but then take a look at what the impact's going to be on the other side of that. It's like it's that practice, right? It's that continual practice of training your mind and taking its power back from that big machine called Mr. Smith, the Matrix, y'all. Just taking it back and getting back into love, Jesus, God. I don't care what you call it. It's that oneness, because at the end of the day, that's we are all one. Seriously.
That's right.
God and
I
evil.
would agree. And I would add to, I would say forgiveness is a huge one
Oh,
because
yes.
when you could forgive other people for however they hurt you and then forgive yourself for maybe retaliating or doing something else and creating that fight or that situation, I think just forgiveness because
Mhm.
we have to move on with, with ourselves and with our families and with our communities, with our fellow Americans. It's so important that we can not only survive this World War IV situation that we're living through, but the ascension of consciousness, of being connected with our Creator. It's going to be so important, and He would want this for us as our Father, for His children to get along and for us to unite with one another, forgive each other. Once you awaken, once you actually find truth and you've discerned, that it passes the sniff test and it's real, it's so much easier to make decisions on, who you are, what you believe in, because every day we wake up, we make yeses and nos.
Yes.
We that's all we do all day. Yes to
All we
this,
do.
no to
It's
this,
mastering choice every day,
right?
all day.
Every
That's
day. And
that's your
so,
journey. That's
so
your that's your job. Master
right.
choice. Hmm.
So just I love your show, the way it's created to really focus in on truth and the self and healing of trauma and energy and understanding that we're all energy, because it's all real, folks. Like, we are energy, but we have to still stay connected through love. And I would say the best tool in the tool belt is forgiveness. Forgive yourself, forgive other people, learn, extend olive branches any way that you can, in peace. So
And I feel, and I know we're going to wrap this up here, but I feel too, in what you're saying, it goes back to we've become this society that's very me, me, me. What do I get from me? What about me? I'm going to fix me, or I'm going to take care of me. And it really is getting back to a we, because we are a community. And I do believe, yes, you need to focus on self and the love of self and healing the self. But it's also coming from the context that when you heal, you're that drop of water. When you heal within, it reverberates out to the community. And we're all here to support and heal and restore community. And I think people have, I don't want to say people have forgotten, because there's a lot of us like you, myself, and we're thinking that way. But as a global collective consciousness, I would love to see the fighting start to simmer down and people getting back into love, because I don't know what love would look like in a fight. I don't know what that looks like. It looks like this, obviously, right? This is what life looks like when it's working. And life is working fine. We're all working fine. It's uncomfortable, but life is working. And so I don't know. It's about thinking about others as well as thinking about ourselves. But it's time to get back to we are a we. We are a we community. We are team. It's not, one against another. And I think we've really come to that place.
absolutely. And be careful of the information you're consuming, because
Yes.
that's the
Discern.
weaponization. Use discernment,
Discern.
because we're in a fifth generation warfare situation where it's
Yes.
psychological operations. They are manipulating people. And what's the number one method and tool in which they're doing that?
The smartphone.
The smartphones, the screens. And so if you feel that you're being overwhelmed with information, at least what I do is
Take
I
it
try
back.
take a break and, go find a trail, go find a campsite somewhere, get off the tech for a weekend and, do some stuff outside in the sunshine. So it'll help a lot.
Yes. Yes, and so one thing, a couple of things I want to leave people with is I read something today. I follow a gallery wilding women. I forget what her name is. Sabrina, I forget her name. She's awesome. She's an astrologer. But for today specifically, because of all of the astrological things that are occurring, the question she had posted on Instagram, which I loved, was, what does your body know that your mind is resisting? Like, what does your body know that your mind is resisting? And that's a tricky question to really think about for today. And what I want to leave people with is, what truth about yourself or the world are you no longer willing to ignore? Like, what truth? What are you no longer willing to ignore? And that to me plays in that space of, what does my body already know that my mind is still like resisting, you know? And what are those conversations that your mind is having while your body is trying to do something else, but your mind keeps stopping or keeps like the cog in the wheel? But Matt, I want to say thank you for joining us today. And what is something that you would like to leave? I mean, I feel like you've left a lot here, but what is something you'd like to leave our listeners with that they can chew on this week in terms of all the things we talked about, which we talked about a lot?
I would just say make this life count because however long we're going to be here on this earth, whether it's if we're blessed with 80 years of life, 100 years of life, or, we can go at any time. So make this life count and try to take advantage of every moment that you can. Live in the now. Don't be so worried about, things that are out of your control. God is in control. And if
Mhm.
if you're not a believer or anything like that, I mean, I'll just let you know he is in control. And even though you don't have a relationship, that's okay. He's still calling your name, and you can always talk to him anytime you want. He will listen to you in a quiet, dark room when you're sitting on the edge of your bed. He will listen to you. I
Even on the
promise you
toilet.
that.
Even on the
Even on the
toilet.
toilet, even in the
Doesn't
shower,
matter where you are. In the
even in the
car.
shower,
Yeah.
in the car, he will listen to you. And he's the best therapist that one could ever want. And I would just
100%.
say, he loves you. I love you. Terry, your host, loves you so much.
Yeah.
And just love your family. The world's crazy, but just love your family and do the best you can. Love your neighbor. And I love to come back on your show anytime to talk. I mean, there's so many different
Yeah. So many
topics.
things we could talk about.
So
And I love you.
encourage.
I
I love you
appreciate you
too.
so much. I really do. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
honored to have met you and to get to know you over this time, and to, be able to just dive deep on these things that we're both passionate about and transforming the world as we know it today. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can find me on all major outlets from YouTube to Rumble to Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, but just
And
about
I'm
them
gonna
all.
I'm gonna put all the links down below in the show notes, y'all.
Yeah, I think I sent you my link tree, so
Yep.
that'll lead you to everything. It's the Ultra MK podcast. Sometimes it's all the words are squeezed in together in the search field, but if you just click the link from the show, you'll be able to get to any of the episodes that I have. I just started in June, so I don't have that much, but I have some really cool guests that I'm going to
You
introduce
have
you
a
to.
lot in the short amount of time you've been doing. I was checking out your YouTube page today, and I was like, golly, you've done so much in such a short amount of time. And I remember when you told me you were going to do this, and you just did it. You're like, I'm doing it, and it's amazing. And
I
you've
said
had
enough's enough.
incredible, yeah,
Yeah.
you've had incredible guests, and so yeah, and and even you and Lucas doing a show together, which I love that I put you two together because Lucas is amazing also. And I think the three of us should get on here. I want to bring the three of us on, and we can have a big powwow
Let's
conversation.
do
But
it.
yeah, but I just want to say thank you to coming to the show. And for all of you listening today, um, if you're feeling triggered, if you're feeling alive and awakened, wherever you're at is perfect. And this really is about rooting in your truth, rising from there, speaking your voice, being who you truly are, and just looking at this world newly, in new perspective, new eyes. But until our next time together, I want to say thank you all for joining us. I'll see you again in another 2 weeks. For those of you who are looking for support and assistance, I do one-on-one coaching. The links are below. Feel free to reach out to me. But Matt, thank you. So appreciate you being here. It's been awesome.
It's great to be here, Tara.
Yeah. Thank you for rooting in and rising with me today. If something in this episode stirred something in you, take a breath, take what you need, and let the rest soften. Be sure to follow the show so you don't miss what's next. And if you feel called, share this episode or leave a review. It helps the space grow and reach others on the path. Until next time, may you walk with trust, speak with love, and rise in your own time. I'm so grateful you were here with us, and thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next episode.